if you can't do something or your frustrations are barring you from doing it, you aren't letting yourself ask the questions you know you need to ask. Look for your points of frustration, and there you will find your questions. From within comes your answer, and the answer the question, and you complete the frustration. So basically, what I mean by that is think about any time you're ever doing anything, literally anything, and you can't seem to wrap your head around what it is exactly that you not only want to do, but have to do, because you know it won't be right unless you do it that way, that specific way, right? Oftentimes, I find that I just keep doing rep after rep after rep after rep until failure, which usually doesn't end well for me personally. It usually ends in a big bout of depression and anxiety, and I feel like the world's caving in on me, and that I'm the world's most worthless person. So, this episode of whatever the hell this is to talk about how to try to mitigate that feeling more. Um, First off, I think you need a clear head. You need to be able to do whatever you need to do to reset your mind. Try not to work diligently inebriated. I'm all good with, like, if you need like a beer or some weed or something to wind down. I don't think you should rely on it. It's probably not the most wise thing to do, because then I think that's how a habit forms. But do whatever you need to do to just relax your mind, get everything off of it. And you have to be able to think about what it is that you are doing, and start doing your reps of that task. But rather than, like, doing a rep and then as you're doing the rep acknowledging that was wrong, this was wrong, this was wrong, and noting all of that, but still going through and doing your reps and not even taking time to sit there with your thoughts about what was wrong, I think that's the damaging part. We have to be willing to do these reps, acknowledge what is wrong, and sit there and really think about it and visualize, like, okay, that was wrong because, and then answer that question for you, or even just say, asking yourself, why was that wrong? Because the more we fail to make these distinctions and ask these questions within ourselves of whatever it is that we're working on, the further we actually stray from doing the thing that we want to do flawlessly, or at least as flawlessly as humanly possible. And usually these questions are right at the forefront of your mind, but the what's the right word? The obstinate person's mind, like myself, is constantly thinking that the next one will be the right one. The next one will be the right one. You're so fucking stubborn and caught up in your own ways that you can't see that the next one probably won't be the right take. It's going to fail because you've been bashing your head against the wall and repping failure after failure rather than success after success. It's long been known, and it's just being supported by study after study, that the brain, at least the human brain, is a pattern recognition machine. It is taking in everything you see and do and experience, whether you know it or not, and it is inscribing it on the wrinkles of your brain. They are the wrinkles of your brain. So think about it. If you keep doing a failing task over and over without critically thinking why it failed and answering those questions and fine tweaking those points so you can actually get that thing flawless, you're just going to be memorizing, you guessed it, more failures, failure after failure after failure. And eventually, after enough days of doing that, you're going to solidify how to fail that thing flawlessly. You're gonna be failing 100% of the time, if not, maybe like 90 some, 90 to if not 100%. It's very possible. It's just it's the way things go when you're you know doing this kind of stuff. And if you don't stop and think to yourself, why did this not work? And ask yourself the questions like, okay, what am I doing wrong? Am I utilizing myself to the most full extent that I possibly can? Am I uh, am I thinking critically? Am I in a good enough headspace to be thinking critically? What do I need to do to make myself more comfortable and more, make the environment conducive to my learning? It's like I think we're so dogged down by learning because of all the learning we've had to do in school for probably, I'd say pointless bullshit. I went through 12 years of schooling and then college, and I don't think I've retained a single thing except for that which I'm specialized in, which is music. That's about the only thing I can still attribute, decent schooling to, but I think I've learned more on my own about that than anybody has ever taught me. I barely know how to do basic algebra. PEMDAS has kind of flew the coop on me by this point, and I went all the way up to calculus, and I don't remember shit from that. So I say all that with my point being, like, I've had to learn. You have to learn so much in any schooling system, pretty much. That learning is scary. So I think we probably think to ourselves like, all right, well, if I could just bypass the learning part by just doing it, then that's much better. Uh, Here's the thing, though, it's not because no one ever taught you how to learn, how to properly, what's the right word? Efficiency. Make your learning process efficient. Make it actually useful to be in a state of learning. It's not something that's really harkened on. It's just expected that you'll just memorize it and then you're going to put it on a shelf and then never touch that thing again. It'll be dusty and useless. Whereas there are ways of learning things that actually solidify it in your head, um, to utilize this thing. And typically, in my experience, the way to do that is through connection. You have to be able to connect the you have to be able to connect one thing that is fresh and new to something that you already know that's in your brain. Essentially, it's like building a road in the middle of nowhere and then connecting it to the next existent road, and now you have a longer road that leads to somewhere, but at least it's usable, and it's there, and it's like it's burned into the ground, and only every once in a while needs to be maintained because maybe some traffic goes through it here and there, and the macadam gets pulled up, and you got to go fill some potholes and all that kind of shit. Um, you'll be better at filling potholes than anybody, at least here in good old Pennsylvania. But um, I digress. I'm just shitting out of my mouth at this point. But the brain is a I should say pattern recognition machine, and a learning machine too. For that reason, for the reason that it is a pattern recognition machine. I've heard something recently that dopamine is not so much released in like the pursuit of a hunt, or of prey necessarily, which is where it comes from anthropologically speaking, in terms of our lineage as humans. But it is more of a chemical to signal change, and um, we often don't utilize that chemical for good, and this is one of those situations where you can. The dopamine starts to build when you start to question why something doesn't work, because it's this open end that is frustrating for us to have. I personally think that having open-ended things where it's like I need to do this thing because I was in the middle of it, I need to finish it. Um, is one of the one of the best ways to get shit done is just to start it and then walk away for a little bit. But because it's already started, it's like, well, I might as well go back and finish it. But brand new things are just too much for a brain to handle. Um, it gets scary. I think the ego gets hurt because it thinks, what if I'm not good enough? What if I can't live up to the expectation that even I have set to myself? Um, but the brain is beyond powerful, and you have the capability and the opportunity to use it for the best of your abilities to better yourself. Um, and all you have to do is just ask questions. Just keep asking questions. Be an inquisitive mind. Stare into the abyss of that which scares you and allow it to stare at you back so you can examine its facial features. If you understand my flow here, my drift. Let's say you're working on a piece, a drum song or something. You're trying to learn some drums for a song, and there's this one shuffle groove. Let's take like the Purdy shuffle, or the John Bonham type of shuffle. Who got it from Purdy? It's one of my favorite shuffles I've ever heard in my life, but it's extremely difficult to play. So upon encountering it, instead of just going, like failing over and over and over and over and over again, I'd rather train my brain to know success, which means if it means going slow, if it means visualizing, if it means um, doing whatever it takes to slow the process so that your brain can absorb everything that it can. And we also have to consider that the brain doesn't absorb everything in this very, I should say, a very quick fashion. Most of the time, a lot of it is linked to your sleep. If your sleep is poor, your brain is not going to take in all that it's learned, because when you sleep, you're replaying everything that you've experienced throughout the day, and your brain is compartmentalizing it deeper and deeper into your subconscious, so then it just can work automatically, and you don't have to think about how to do something. You just think it, you dream it, and you do it, so much as think it and work your way through it. um, so the slower you can do something, you should be able to understand something so thoroughly that you could close your eyes and imagine yourself doing it in slow motion. You should be able to even see what you do from different perspectives. I should If I'm behind the drum kit, I should be able to see myself drumming from every angle that I possibly can. You just have to imagine it. And by imagining that, you've now gained a massive home field advantage, and the away advantage too, because now you're examining what it's like to exist in this state and that state and this state and that state and all these variables, and you can effectively, I don't want to say plan around them, but figure out how to uh, use what you're given to achieve the thing that you are trying to do. And oftentimes that's it's a really hard ask, especially if you've never done it before. And I don't know if it ever gets easier to go through this process, but I know it helps, and I know that it's something that everybody should probably be doing, and I know that it's something that everybody probably hates to do. It's only the pure psychopaths that love to, hurt their brain, essentially. Because it's like the brain has to be a muscle of some sort, because it grows, and it has the ability to, um, I'd say it almost feels like when you're just pulling reps on a bicep curl, and what you're doing is tearing that muscle open, and then it's rebuilding after it's been torn into your muscle as you know it, and it gets bigger. It not only does it rebuild, but it builds more mass to it for some reason. I don't know why. That's just the way the human body works, and I don't need to understand why. So you can very well infer, you could damn well infer that the brain is probably doing the exact same thing. The brain is probably that's probably why it hurts to learn certain things. That's why it's probably so frustrating. Why you want to punch something. Why you want to slam your fist into a wall, into the ground. You know, any of these options are. You know, just think of what learning something that is really hard does to you. It makes you feel like you're crazy and that you're losing your freaking mind over something so that should be so simple, but it's not. And that's another thing too, humbling yourself, learning to humble yourself and say that this is not something that is likely going to be easy. Even if it sounds easy, good luck. Good luck doing it, because it's probably not, even to the most trained professional, you know. Um, but yeah, like and if you don't know where to ask, like what questions to ask, just do the thing and note your points of frustration. Note where you feel comfortable and where you feel uncomfortable, because that will be the most clear indicator of where you're supposed to be asking these questions. Because oftentimes the answer lays dormant within you. You don't know it at the time, but eventually you by listening closely and deeply to your mind, to your heart, you can pull out exactly what it is that you need to ask yourself, and then that answer will be laying right in front of you. It's like, oh, I've known for the longest time I needed to raise my seat so I can have less stress on my leg. I knew for the longest time I needed to lower my rack for my toms, because I'm reaching too high and it's causing my shoulders to tense up a little bit too much. I notice that as I'm playing, my jaw juts forward over my front teeth, and I'm causing all this jaw related stress that's just building and building and throwing me off all across. I know that when I mess up one note, I can't stop thinking about it. I know when I hit something a little bit too hard. Well, it's about the same thing. I can't stop thinking about it, and it ends up compromising the rest of whatever the thing is that I'm doing. Yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much it. I think I've gotten to the bottom of it for the most part. This doesn't need to be a 30-minute video. Yeah. All right. Peace. Oh fuck. No.